Okay, in this video, we're going to be creating the person edit page. So the person edit page is both the edit and create. It's going to be, if you don't pass an ID into it, the ID will be 0. It'll save a new person. If you do pass an ID into it, then when it saves, it will create a new person. It's that simple. So this would obviously be a call person/edit, which means it's on the person controller. So there has to be an edit method, right? So public result edit int ID equals 0. So I'm saying this is a optional parameter to pass in an ID. Very simple here. Very similar, right? So I either find a person or I create a new person. So in this case, if ID is not greater than 0, then I just want to say person equals new person. So there's no error there. And then I just return the view. Person. So either I'm creating it with a brand new person or I'm creating it with an existing person. So now the page behind, or the view page itself, right? So here I need a edit page. Which has a model of a person. Sorry, I keep doing this. Model is green person. Okay, so now on this page, all I need to do is say start from scratch. So here we're going to create a div style text align center. Sorry, text center. That's actually a class. H1 edit / create person. Okay, so here div class equals text center style equals width 400 pixels, margin left auto, margin right auto. That just centers it on the page. It's really hard to get things centered, so you have to be creative. Okay, so now we need a form. Post action of the form is we need a save. So we're actually going to need another method on the person controller called save. So person / save. Class equals form group. I'm actually going to put text center on there as well. It's going to make a difference, but we'll see. So we need a label. First name. We need an input. Type equals text. Class equals form input. Form control, sorry. Let's add in style equals name equals first name. Gotta be careful between name and ID. ID is HTML telling you what the form field is called. Name is what the form is going to post to the actual page behind. So value equals at model dot first name. Now, if this was a new one, it's going to be blank. If it's not, I mean, this is pretty simple. You understand, right? Let's do the same thing for last name. And then we need a hidden value for, so let's do one of these. We need a hidden value for the person ID. And then we need our submit button. Input equals submit. Submit. That's equals button dash button, and then ATM dash primary. Then we want a cancel button, so we need to do button. That's equals thing. And then we want on click. And this isn't great current coding style, but I'm just doing this to get fast, right? Window application href. Where do we want to go if we're not going to finish editing a person? Just going back to the home page. This won't be true when we're editing other stuff, right? And then we return false because if we don't return false, then it's going to actually submit the form anyway. So we want to say, no, don't submit the form. So this is to edit the page, the person, and then we've said we need to save the person. So now we need to go back to the controller and create a save. So public action result, save. What are we taking in on save? We already know, string first name, because we're sending this from the form we just created, right? String last name and int person ID. So we're going to save to the database, and then when we're done, what are we doing after we save? We're going back to the list page. So we need to return the redirect. So this will get rid of the underline here because it actually returns an action result. So here we want to do the save. So what are we going to do for the save? Well, we know a lot about this person. We know their ID, their first name, and their last name. If it's one that has an ID, we know we're updating it. So we need to find it first and then update it. So same thing we do everywhere. Say this, else person equals new person. So we're going to do basically the same thing we did up there, but this time we're going to set the values, right? So if person ID is greater than 0, we're going to find the person. If not, we're going to say person is a new person. But what we want to do is we want to add that person to the collection in the DB context. So this dot DB context dot persons dot add this person. So then when we go to save it, it'll know it's a new person and you know, it'll know it's part of the collection now, right? So you need to do all that. And then we can say person dot first name equals first name. Person dot last name equals last name. What is their ID if they are not existing already? It's 0. And well, that one's 0. Perfect. What is their ID if they came in? Well, we loaded them from the database by their ID. So we've set all that stuff. Now all we need to do is just save the changes, right? So we say, okay, we either got it from the DB context and reset these values so we know that it's been updated, or we created a new one and added it to the database context, and therefore we can just save changes. So this dot DB context dot save changes. And that's it. We've done it. We're now saving a person, right? While we're in here, let's go ahead and do the delete. Delete is, again, very similar to edit and everything else. Just to kind of close the loop on this. Delete. Either we found a person or we didn't. We can't delete a person that doesn't exist, so that'll actually be an error. And here we want to say this dot DB context dot persons dot remove person. This dot DB context dot save changes. So that should do it, right? This should do it for us. So that's it. Yeah, so let's give it a shot. So here we are testing it. Let's start by creating a new person, and then we will edit them and save them, and then we will delete them. So create a new person. Let's create one called Django. It's actually my dog Django, pet. Kind of like Django Fett, right? Submit. And look, it worked. It saved him to the database. Did it really save him to the database? Let's go look at the database and see that it actually did. So here, view, server object explorer, persons, and view data. Sure enough, Django pet is in the database. All right, good to go. So now let's edit him. Call him Django petty. Worked, right? It edited him. It didn't create a new one, hopefully, right? So let's look at the database again and make sure. Say rerun. And as you see, it actually did edit him. It's still ID 2. It didn't create another one or something weird like that. Now we're going to say delete. Okay, delete was not found. Okay, person delete 2. So let's find out what I did wrong. Person controller, delete. Public action result, delete, and ID. Oh, you person. That's your problem right there. So where are we going? We're done deleting a person. So it probably actually did delete from the database, but it was trying to redirect to the view called persons that doesn't exist. And instead, so that's fixed. So let's re-add in Django. Create a new person, Django, pet, submit. And then when we say delete, it actually just deletes it straight up. So everything works great. The next thing we're going to do is on the person page, we're going to implement, the only one we're going to do is the phone number. We're not going to worry about, we're going to do the edit page for phone number and the delete page for phone number. The email addresses and addresses, I will assign to you, the listener, to implement those. It'll be very similar to these. So we're going to implement an edit page and a delete page, and that's it. We're going to be done with this project. All right. So that's it for this video. See you soon.